Hello everybody, I'm Crusader and thanks for joining me. I made a couple of these opinion piece videos recently and they've been a little negative, so let me tell you why Crusader Kings 3 Royal Court is better than you think it is. So, there's one thing in Royal Court that we can all agree on, and that's that clicking Hold Court is very silly. It gives you basically one of, I don't know how many, but it feels like not very many different events. They're a tiny bit, procedural in that they can affect different people and stuff like that, but really they get boring very, very quickly. I'm not going to try and defend the Hold Court mechanic, but I want to talk a little bit about court grandeur. So here we are playing as the Romans in the 1066 start, and I want to talk about the court amenities or amenities. Is that an English American pronunciation thing, or am I just wrong? Is it always amenities? Anyway, we're going to say amenities. Because what this is essentially a way to scale the costs of running your empire. And it does it in a very clever, very flavorful, and quite, to me, pleasing way, basically. And I want to defend Royal Court on the basis of this feature, essentially. If you're not familiar, there are essentially 4 types of amenities. And you can choose to spend from 1 to 5 on each of them. When you change them, it takes a little while to finish switching, and each level gives you different bonuses. There is also a level that is expected of you based on how grand your realm is. So right here we can see that, what is it that we're expected to have? I think 6, right? Yes, we're expected to have level 6. We have to maintain level 6, otherwise we start getting some penalties. And if you're higher than you're expected to be, you get more bonuses. And if you're very negative compared to where you're supposed to be, you get other different things. And the different levels also do other things just on their own. So you have Manage Royal Guards Counselor task, for example. And all the way at the top end, you get Max Hostile Schemes up. Pretty freaking useful. And obviously all the previous levels apply at each stage. And I think this is a really good system. And there are various things about it that are really good. And I'll talk about some of the less important ones, at least less important to this video, which is that, firstly, there's lots of extra bonuses you can get. The more things you can sacrifice to get bonuses in a kind of dynamic way, the more complicated the choices you have to make are. Do I want to spend the money on mercenaries, or do I want to spend it on lodgings? Is it more important that I build up my economy, or that I reduce my stress gain of courtiers with bigger lodgings, things like that? And these are things that really let you make tactical decisions. Do I want to invest here or here? And those interesting tactical decisions, well, not really tactical, strategical decisions, are good fun and they're enjoyable. But the important thing that I want to talk about Royal Court in this video is the way that the costs scale. The costs of amenities scale based on the size and wealth of your realm. And that makes perfect sense, right? Because if you are a little tiny king, people might think your court is like really lavish relative to what they expected, because you have not even that expensive furnishings and servants and things like that. Whereas if you're the king of the Romans, for example, or the emperor of the Romans, and you have even some quite good lodgings, that's not good enough, because they expect the Roman court to be massive and really impressive and all that good stuff. And that makes sense, right? That's a scaling cost that logically makes sense. Here's an example of a scaling cost that makes absolutely no sense. Events in EU4 and CK2 very, very often cost you or give you a certain amount of money based on your yearly income. And CK3 rather, may well also do that, but it doesn't do that here. It does it here in a much cleverer way by tying it to people's expectations and things like that. And when in CK2 an event costs a multiplier of your yearly income, it's incoherent. It destroys the narrative, because the same thing, exactly the same thing, costs you wildly different amounts or gives you wildly different amounts. And that's obviously a very, very bad system, in my opinion. I say obviously and then in my opinion, which, but I still think it's a bad system, in my opinion. But I believe my opinion to be right, because it lacks flavor as to why it costs you more. It lacks any kind of justification for it costing more. It's just an excuse to take money off the player so you don't snowball as much. And what this essentially does is it costs you more and more money, which is a limitation on your ability to snowball, but it sweetens the pot, right? First, with flavor. Second, with kind of graphics. And I think there's some events that might be associated with different levels of lodgings and fashion and things. But also with bonuses. So you're getting more prestige, even though it's going to cost you a ton more money to maintain your haute couture fashion. Haute couture? Couture? I'm not fashionable enough to know how to say this clearly. But I mean, it's a very simple video. That's the basic premise. I really like how they scale costs using this system. Now, did that need to be in a fully 3D realized court with all these people standing around? No. No, I don't really care about that almost at all. It's kind of cool, but I'm not a very visual guy. I would be quite happy if this was a spreadsheet, but that's just my take. I'm curious what you think about Royal Court in general. The court types are also a really cool way of doing it. It's obviously comical that you have so few options. Having different cultures and ethoses lets you have more, but ideally there would just be lots more of these for everybody. And the court language system is not very good, although I think it's been improved since I last played, because it used to be everyone would just trend towards Arabic very, very quickly, but I think that's been fixed. And that was also especially a problem if you used the mod that gave dukes courts. But anyway, those are my takes on why Royal Court might be better than you think. It's a good time. If you haven't played with it yet, do give it a try. It's overpriced, I think. How much does it cost? Hang on. Yeah, it's 25 quid or like 30 bucks. That's very, very overpriced, but oh well. It's good fun. So if you have a reasonable amount of disposable income, whether it's overpriced is relative to how much, disposable income you have, obviously. But if you have enough money that you think that's worth it, then do give it a try. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing these little opinion piece videos because I find them interesting. I like rambling and sharing my thoughts. I like your comments, by the way. Lots of comments on these videos. Lots of people with interesting additions, disagreements, all that stuff. Always nice to see. Keep that up. See you in the next one.